Good morning, Mooncutter Sportscast fans. I hope y'all are well rested on this wonderful Saturday morning, January 21st, as we get ready for the divisional rounds of the NFL playoffs. We're going to jump right into the recap of the wildcard round because I want to get through this. I just came off of working back-to-back shifts at two different jobs, and I got to do the same tonight, so I'm short on how much time I have to do this. Hence why I also don't have a co-host for this one. I also want to save the pent-up aggression and rage that I have where I'm just giving you a warning. Tail end of this episode, I'm going to be ripping apart a certain sect of a certain team's fan base because what they're asking for makes no damn sense. You'll find out in just a bit. But jumping right to the NFL Wildcard recap, we're going to jump right into the first game that was played on Saturday last week. The Seahawks at the 49ers. This game went exactly how I thought it was going to. The Niners crushing the Seahawks. I know I had said I hope the Seahawks take it. I'd been hoping and hoping because I would love to have seen the Geno Smith continue his redemption arc, but alas, that did not happen. Geno did go 25 for 35 for 253, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, as well as a rushing touchdown by Kenny Walker. Both passing touchdowns were taken by the hands of DK Metcalf, who's had a great bounce back year. It goes to show that maybe Pete Carroll's system wasn't the problem. Maybe it was Russell Wilson, especially since we didn't really see much success in Denver. On the other side of the ball, Brock Purdy went 18 for 30. Sorry, I apologize. I've been a bit coffee today all night because I made the mistake of going out Thursday night, getting drunk, and as I was drinking, even though I'd been doing so well with my Elf bars and actually breathing well, I made the mistake of buying a pack of cigarettes and chain smoking. Because it happens with alcohol. My bad. But Brock Purdy goes 18 for 30, 332, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. Also rushed one in himself off of his 4 carries for 16 yards, one of which being a touchdown. And he did a lot better of a job spreading the ball out. Touchdown receptions caught by Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell, and Christian McCaffrey. The interception that I'd mentioned before was picked up by Damon Lenoir. I hope I didn't just butcher his name. Either way, we'll get. Hey, we already got a guest comment or a watcher comment from Tracy Lee saying good morning, 666. 666 being my old call sign from when I was still a cab driver. But that was like a lifetime ago at this point. Moving off the Seahawks-Niners game, the second game Saturday night was between the Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars. No, wait, where was it? Now, this game did not go the way I'd planned. I'd called it. I had said I think the Chargers were taking it, and it looked pretty damn close to that happening until the last minute. Off of a field goal that I swear watching it on TV looked like it missed. But I guess it was a bad camera angle or whatever because they called it fair. Justin Herbert, 25 for 43, 273 yards, 1 passing touchdown. 2 rushing touchdowns from Austin Eckler, who had a lot of carries, not a lot of yardage, but made it count, who only had 13 carries for 35 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. The 1 passing touchdown from Herbert went to Gerald Everett. Looks like 4 interceptions from the defense for the Chargers. Which you got to think, Justin Herbert throwing no interceptions and the Chargers picking off 4 times. You would think the Chargers would have walked away with this, but didn't happen. Drew Tranquil picked up 1 of the 4. The other 3 interceptions were all by the same guy, corner, Asante Samuel Jr. Over to the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, 28 for 47, 288 yards, 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. No rushing touchdowns, but as I said, 4 receiving touchdowns thrown. And they went to Evan Ingram, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones. Travis Etienne had the biggest carry on this one, 20 yards for 109, or 20 carries for 109 yards. And Jacksonville moves on. I don't see the Cinderella story lasting, but we'll talk more about that in a bit because I'm trying to rush through this to the Bills and Dolphins game. Buffalo picks up the predictable win, 34-31. Playing against a third-string quarterback, Skylar Thompson, who went 18 for 45, 220 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Geoffrey Wilson also rushed 1 in. The touchdown that was thrown was actually picked up by their tight end, Mike Gesicki. Over to the Bills side of the ball. Okay, 2 interceptions. They were picked off by Xavier Howard and... Sorry, I got to bring these up individually because I don't want to butcher these first names. Javon Holland. Over to the Bills side of the ball. 2 interceptions as well. They were picked off by Kyer Elam and Dean Marlowe. Josh Allen throwing 23 for 39, 352 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the 2 interceptions already discussed. James Cook also gets a rushing touchdown, and the recipients on the 3 were Dawson Knox, Cole Beasley, and Gabe Davis, a dude who came solid for me during the fantasy season. I'll say that much. Buffalo also predictable on this one because of the whole DeMar Hamlin injury, and you know they're playing with heart. You know they've got it in their minds. Let's win it for DeMar. I could see that being carried through to the divisional round, and hopefully they go further than that. On to the next game, which was I would say probably the biggest surprise of the weekend. The Giants coming in as the 6th seed, defeating the 3rd seed Vikings at a score of 31-24. Danny Dimes, Daniel Jones, 24 for 35, 301, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Saquon Barkley also goes 9 for 53 with 2 rushing touchdowns. Daniel Bellinger, the tight end, and Isaiah Hodgins, the wide receiver, getting the 2 pickups through the air for the Giants. And surprisingly, both quarterbacks went perfect in this game because Kirk Cousins also goes 31 for 39 for 273 and 2 touchdowns. And I guess a trick play was involved somewhere in the game. I didn't actually get to watch it, but Justin Jefferson's being recorded for 1 for 1 with a loss of 2. Kirk Cousins rushes 1 in himself. And you got KJ Osborne and Irv Smith Jr. picking up 2 through the air, leading to a 31-24 win for the Giants. Another one that was not so much of a surprise or an upset because everyone predicted, or because on paper we knew how this was going to go, but At the same time, it's always hard to root against the GOAT. Oh, shit. How did I miss the Bengals Ravens? I'll have to verbally go over that one because I didn't type anything in for it. But Ravens, the Bengals pick up a win over the Ravens 24-17 in the third matchup of this divisional rivalry this year. Ravens without Lamar Jackson, which quite possibly could have been what swayed it. But Tyler Huntley went 17 for 29, 226, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. The two touchdowns were thrown to J.K. Dobbins and Demarcus Robinson. And no interceptions for the defense. On the Bengals end, Joe Burrow goes 23 for 32, 209 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. But he also ran one in, so made up for it there. Jamar Chase being the recipient. And the only interception of the game came at the hands of Akeem Davis. Bengals move on to face the Bills in the divisional round. That's going to be awesome. Now we'll get to see how that game would have played out. I'm glad this is happening. Down to the 6th and final game of the wildcard weekend. The game I was trying to hype up before I realized I missed one. But the Cowboys pick up a decisive 31-14 victory over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Looking at the fact that Tampa came in with a losing record this year in the playoffs, you kind of figured they were going to be bounced early. But then again, Tom Brady, which we're going to start with him. 35 for 66, 351 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Cameron Brate and was it Julio Jones? With the 2 touchdowns, no rushing touchdowns, no other scores, obviously, since it was only 14. And no interceptions on that defense. Dak Prescott, 25 for 33, 305 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Make it 5 because he rushed 1 in himself. 2 to tight end Dalton Schultz, 1 to CeeDee Lamb, and 1 to Michael Gallup. High point on the offense was definitely Dalton Schultz, 7 receptions for 95 yards, averaging 13.6 for each reception. I'll tell you what, though they struggled later in the season, if this is what we're going to see from the Cowboys the rest of this playoff, oh boy. I know my buddy Ryan Solo might be ecstatic in 4 weeks. Moving on, I'll jump out of that to my divisional round predictions. I'm going to say none of these are easy calls. None of these are easy calls. Like, I seriously had to take my time and like really think deep on 3 of these. We're going to start with the one that I think is actually most likely to, the one that was the easiest choice for me. But I definitely think the Cinderella story ends for the Jags when they meet the Chiefs. Trevor Lawrence has shown some progression. He's improved this year. But the triple threat of the running game between Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon for the Chiefs, and then the connection between Travis Kelce and Pat Mahomes, I don't think the Jags are primed to keep up with that. Now, the one that everyone's gonna look at me like I'm nuts for, Giants at Eagles. It's another divisional rival game. And honestly, this is the first year we've actually seen Saquon healthy all season. And after his performance week 1 or in the wild card round, I'm actually going to go on a limb here and I'm taking the Giants. I might look like a complete idiot for that next week. I don't know. But I got a gut feeling the Giants take it. And to be fair, the Chiefs are the only favorite I'm picking. You got the Bengals at the Bills. I feel like Cincinnati's going to be a little bit burned by the fact that they ended up being the third seed. And as the season's gone, Josh Allen has been up and down like a roller coaster. Joe Burrow has maintained his composure the entire year, and he's been pretty much, you know what you're going to get out of him, and it's going to be good. I see Burrow being less likely to make mistakes, and I think mistakes are what's going to decide this game. I'm taking Cincy. And now the one that everyone's going to look at me like I'm fucking insane for, but Cowboys at Niners. I know everybody's riding the Mr. Irrelevant superstar. I know I've already said it, but Cinderella story this year. And I'm fully impressed with Brock Purdy's performance this for the fact that he's on a 6-game winning streak as a rookie starter. I mean, we almost saw somebody else do that this year with having a 6-game undefeated starting as a start 6-game undefeated streak as a starter, but he came up short against the Eagles. Of course, I'm talking about Cooper Rush. Now, funny enough, we're talking about his team, Dallas Cowboys, at San Francisco. And I'm going to say this much. Looking at how well things went last week, I'm actually taking the Cowboys over the Niners. The biggest question mark is Maher going to get his shit together? Because missing 3 extra points in their wild card win is a big deal. I would be a little bit concerned about that. I would be expecting if the Cowboys get a touchdown for them to be more likely to go for 2, as Dak Prescott quite clearly was shouting on the sidelines, go for fucking 2. Well, if Maher misses his first kick, I can see that happening on the consecutive ones. But not changing my opinion. I'm taking the Cowboys. Going to jump down to a brief run through of the NHL standings before I get into the fun part. Starting over on the far west, we're going to work our way over. On the Pacific, you got the Kraken leading the pack at 58 points. Tied with the Golden Knights, but I think the Kraken have less games played, so that's the tiebreaker. Third place, you got the Kings at 56. Fourth place, Oilers, who have been climbing back, especially after the incredible early recovery and early return of Evander Kane, coming in at 4th at 55. Flames in 5th at 51. The Canucks in 6th at 39. The Sharks at 7 with 37. And the Ducks at the bottom of the barrel with 31 points. Moving west, or moving eastward one division, we got the Central. We got the Stars at 61. Second place Jets with 59. Third place Wild with 54. Fourth place Avalanche with 51. The fifth place Blues with 49. The sixth place Predators with 48. Seventh place Coyotes with 33. And the eighth place Blackhawks with 30. I can't talk this morning, apparently. This is going to make the last part of this episode even more interesting because, wow. In the Atlantic, you got the juggernaut Bruins at 76 points. The second place Maple Leafs at 63. Third place Lightning at 59. Panthers in fourth at 49. Sabres in fifth at 47. The Red Wings in sixth with 46. The Senators in seventh with 43. And the Canadiens at the bottom of the pack with 41. And the Metropolitan, the first place Hurricanes at 64. The second place Devils at 62. The third place Rangers at 57. The fourth place Capitals at 56. The fifth place Penguins at 53. The sixth place Islanders at 51. Seventh place Flyers at 45. And the eighth place Blue Jackets at 28. Hold on one second. I need a drink because wow, I can't talk. And yeah, I'm definitely hearing myself rasp. Now, I mentioned I was going to tear into a certain fan base's, a large portion of a certain team's fan base. And I can't believe I'm doing this of all people because this is the team that I hate the most, the Pittsburgh Steelers. But I just can't believe the overall stupidity of a large section of their fan base. And it all centers around, it's because of their opinion and their desire for the future of a certain person that's part of the team. And it's, well, this guy, Coach Mike Tomlin. What's pissing me off is I'm hearing a large sect of the Steelers fan base at this point trying to say that he needs to be fired. And I just have to ask, for those of you that are saying that Mike Tomlin needs to be fired from the Steelers, coming from a guy that's not a Steelers fan that fucking hates the Steelers, but for those of you saying that you think Mike Tomlin needs to be fired, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I'm going to back it up with a bunch of things that I want to hear your justifications against, because saying that Mike Tomlin needs to be fired and isn't good enough of a coach for the Steelers is got to be the most head in your ass fucking line of bullshit I've ever heard. And yes, I'm fully aware that at this point I've earned this episode an R rating. I don't give a rat's ass because y'all are fucking stupid. And here's the stats. Just going down the line. Career wins. Mike Tomlin has 163. Right now, that is the 16th all-time games won. 16th all-time. The winning percentage, he's a 63.6. Guess what? That's a rank higher. He's 15th all-time on that stat. Of active coaches, he's 4th. But he's not good enough. And everybody wants to look back and say he hasn't had the success that Cowher had, the success that Chuck Noll had. Take that 63.6% win percent, or 63.6 win percentage over the course of his career. And just so you know, the stats behind the other two, Cowher was a 62.3. That's a 1.3% less. And those of you that want to go back and say Chuck Noll was better, yeah, you might have won more Super Bowls with Chuck Noll, which he did have a few, a span of with a really good team for a few years. But Chuck Noll's career winning percentage was only a 56.6. Now, Mike Tomlin has been the coach of the Steelers for 16 fucking years. He's never had a losing season. Ever. Again, going to Pittsburgh's history, Bill Cowher, in 15 years, had 4 losing seasons. Chuck Noll, in his 23 years, had 7. Tomlin's never had any losing seasons. But he sucks compared to them. Right? He sucks compared to them. Fucking idiots. Now, another thing I'm going to point out is looking at the rosters. Look at your roster over the years. 2012 was the last season that Pittsburgh had a true playoff-worthy roster. 2012 was the last year that Pittsburgh had a roster that you could look at and seriously think, we can actually win a Super Bowl with this team. Ever since the 2012 season, you guys haven't been playoff-worthy. And mostly recently, y'all realistically have had a shit roster, especially this past year. And yet, you still had a winning record at 9-8. And for comparison, I'm going to go back and list the starting players on your 2012 roster on both sides of the ball as soon as I can get it up, because I Forgot to bring that up. I forgot to have that. But the 2012 Steelers depth chart. Okay. On offense. On offense. Wide receiver. Oh, fuck. Not what I want. That's not what I want either. There we go. Your 2012 starters. Running back, Jonathan Dwyer. Running back, Will Johnson. Wide receivers, Antonio Brown and Mike Wallace. Tight end, Heath Miller. Your tackles of Mike Adams and Max Starks. Your guards, Willie Colon and Ramon Foster. Your center, which I believe was his rookie year, Marquise Pouncey. Quarterback, Ben Roethlisberger, which is good. But on defense, you're looking at defensive ends, Brett Kiesel and Evander Hood. Nose tackle, Casey Hampton. Linebackers, Lamar Woodley, Larry Foote, and Lawrence Timmons. And James Harrison. Corner, Keenan Lewis and Ike Taylor. And your safeties, Ryan Clark and Troy Polamalu. That was 11 years ago in 2012. And at that time, your defense was incredible. Okay? And your offense wasn't too shabby. Now, comparing that to today, this was the first year without Hines Ward. Which, honestly, I almost took it a step further and said 2011 was the last good year you guys had, that you had a decent roster. But you know what? I thought about it. 2012 was pretty damn solid. Compare that to what you've got now. And I'm going to bring that up as well so that I'm not screwing any of these up, because it's not as good. But you got from Jonathan Dwyer to Najee Harris. Okay, that might be a slight improvement, but I don't think so. I think they're about even. Najee is no Willie Parker, and he's damn sure not a Jerome Bettis. Hell, I don't even think he's as good as Rashard Mendenhall was for you guys. Wide receivers. George Pickens, yes, has some potential, and I really liked Colbert's pick with him. But the other two, Deontay Johnson and Steven Sims, look back to what you had at that era. Like an early career Antonio Brown. You ain't got it. And at this point, George Pickens hasn't shown to be a worthy replacement for Antonio Brown or Hines Ward before that. Or hell, Santonio Holmes before that. Like looking at the trajectory of your wide receiver, your top receiver alone. Santonio Holmes, human fucking highlight reel. Hines Ward, one of the best to ever play the game at that position. Who not only could he catch the ball, but he was one hell of a blocker. Hands down and deserved first ballot Hall of Famer. After Hines, your next star was Antonio Brown, who honestly is the only one of the killer bees, as y'all love to call them, the killer bees, that I will say was definitely above average talent for his position. My backup on that is Le'Veon Bell. Realistically, with the offensive line you had during his tenure, you could have put a freaking quadriplegic in a wheelchair behind center, and he would have produced yardage for you guys. Like Pittsburgh's offensive line during the tenure that you had Le'Veon Bell was probably the best in the league. Unfortunately, your receiving core and your defense both sucked. Excuse me. Either way, Pat Freiermuth compared to Heath Miller, no comparison. And then your Quarterback. As much as I will always say Ben Roethlisberger, yes, is an eventual Hall of Famer. But my back on him is that that he would never have had half the stats he did if it weren't for the fact that he's just so damn big, so hard to bring down, and was able to break so many tackles. To move on to Kenny Pickett, I'm sorry. Kenny Pickett should never have been drafted as high as he was. Looking back over his college career, his senior year, yes, he broke out. But Pitt also benefited from an easy conference schedule. And looking back to the 4 years before that, his stats were mediocre at best. So he's no Ben Roethlisberger level talent. Hell, even his last 3 years in the league, Ben Roethlisberger wasn't Ben Roethlisberger level talent. Moving on to your offensive line. Dan Moore Jr., Kevin Dotson, Mason Cole, James Daniels, and Chukwuma O. I'm not even going to try and butcher his last name. But I'm going to say it again. Not the same level of talent. And it's progressively more from that in 2012 to what you got now. You've been getting weaker on offense every damn year. And your defense, yes, you have TJ Watt and Cameron Hayward. Those are, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. I'll throw him up there in the equation as being star level defense. But compared to the team that I listed from 2012, Larry Ogunjobi, Montravius Adams, Robert Spillane, Miles Jack, Alex Highsmith, Arthur Mollett, Terrell Edmonds, and Cameron Sutton. There's no comparison. You've gotten weaker on defense too. I know I kind of went off on a tangent here with comparing the rosters between the two eras and showing that the gradual transformation to what you had to what you got now. But I think I've made enough of a point to say that 2012 was the last year that you guys actually had a playoff or a Super Bowl or even playoff worthy roster. That being said, in that 10 years since where you guys didn't have a playoff worthy roster, Tomlin still got you there all but 4 times. Okay? This year alone, Pittsburgh outperformed their projected 7.5 wins, getting 9 of them. And they've actually done that each of the past 5 years. Because I went and did the breakdown every year. You've at least beaten your projection by a game. I'm not saying by that half game, but at least by a full game. Each of the past 5 years. I would have went back further to figure out just how much you guys have exceeded, but unfortunately, once I got back 5 years, it became more and more difficult to find what the initial preseason Vegas odds were. That being said, I think I've broken down enough here. Thank you, Deontay, saying I have a good point. And agreeing with me, absolutely not. Ben is Ben, and Kenny is nowhere close to that. He still has a lot to learn. Yes. Is he going to reach the heights that Ben did? I don't think so. Looking at his college career plus the development over the course of this year, I think he's pretty close to plateauing already. But that's just my opinion. I could be proven wrong on that one. Either way, back to the main point of this whole spiel. So I can get off here, get a shower, and pass out before I got to get up to go work 2 jobs in a row again tonight. Final verdict about this is, to me, and what you should be taking away as Steelers fans, is that right now, the guy that a large part of your fan base is wanting to run out of town, Mike Tomlin, is about the only bright spot the Steelers have. And those of you that want to say, oh, but this is his team, he's the one that chose it. No, he didn't. That's on the shoulders of your general manager, Kevin Colbert, who ironically is the same guy that built the dominant team that you guys had when Tomlin came in 2000, between 2007 and 2012. I don't know where he fell off, but as he progressed, Colbert's moves as GM got weaker. You got a new guy in place. I don't even know his damn name because he hasn't done anything yet. There were no major midseason moves and whatnot. So I will wait to pass judgment until I at least get to see a draft in an offseason. But as I was saying, anyone wanting Tomlin fired still, obviously you don't want success. You don't want continued success. You don't want to keep winning. So anybody wanting Tomlin fired might as well go cheer for a bottom dwelling team like the Houston Texans, at this point, the Cleveland Browns or the Denver Broncos, because obviously, if you want Tomlin fired, you want to see the Steelers lose. That's not going to happen. So you might as well go root for one of those bottom dwellers because that's the quickest way you're going to get what you want and get to know what losing feels like. All that said, I'm going to jump out of here. It's been a fun 38 minutes, but those of you that are just tuning in, you can follow me at TJEJoker. That's TJEGEOCUR as shown over here. You can follow the show at Mooncutters. Follow Running Force Productions on Facebook. And for sure, if you want to help me get to the point where I can devote more time to following sports, to give you more news, more updates, what have you, please, the quickest way to help me do that is to like, subscribe, and sign up for notifications on the YouTube channel, Running Force Productions. That's this logo up here in the right-hand corner. Otherwise, it's been a fun rant, guys. But this is Geoffrey signing off.